Welcome back, everyone, to Blue Collar Startup. If this is your first time listening, it wouldn't be welcome back, I guess, but
welcome.
If this is your first time listening. If this is your first time listening, typically what we're going to be doing here is talking to blue collar business owners, support staff, and then also some of the support services. And when I say that, what I mean is organizations that help support trades, whether it's through consulting or workforce development, like, education, like BOCES and HVCC. And so today, by the way, I got a Derek. What's up, man?
How you been?
I've been good.
How's 75 hard going?
75 hard's going good.
We're still on it.
We're day what? 25, 26?
Yeah, I told you I got to restart it.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
yeah,
that sucks. Hey,
the progress picture got me.
Freaking progress pic. Dean, we haven't introduced you yet, but I'm going to talk to you anyway. Do you know what 75 hard is?
You sure do.
Nice. Are you a Frisella fan?
Am I what?
A Frisella? Andy Frisella fan?
I'm indifferent.
Okay.
He's okay.
He's all right. The first time I did 75 hard, it took me 113 days. And the reason why it took me 113 days was because of the freaking progress pic.
Yeah.
3 times.
It's hard to remember it.
If you're not I'm not a selfie guy. So like, it was kind of, I don't know, whatever. But anyway, it's going well.
We're here.
We're here. But we're here. We're joined by Dean Leber.
Yes, sir. Leber.
Right? Did I say that right?
Leber.
I'm on a roll. Dean, tell us, we know who you are. Tell us what you do about your business and who you help.
Sure. Yeah. So Dean Leber, my company is the Leaders Group. We do leadership coaching and development for small and medium-sized companies. I also work with a handful of companies in the trades, so that's awesome. I love that. And my background growing up, I grew up out in the country. First job was on a sheep farm. Stacking hay.
I have sheep.
Yeah. They are as stupid as the rumors.
Oh my God, I love them.
It's brutal.
They're amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And just for anybody listening too, we should say, originally how we got connected with Dean is because he worked or works. Do you still work with Amanda? Over at Grasshopper HVAC, and so she spoke very, very highly of you and attributed a lot of the success she's had over the last few years to working with you and some of the things that you helped her do. So that was kind of what fed that originally. And so then Dean was like, hey, I'm super psyched to have you on and talk about some of that stuff and give some insight to listeners, blue collar business owners, on how they can kind of rinse and repeat, so to speak, of what Grasshopper's been able to do. So welcome.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Glad to be here, everybody.
Yeah.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about leadership. It's an interesting subject. Everybody talks about leadership. I'm not sure if everybody knows what it actually is, but give us the Dean definition of leadership. What is it?
Well, I think for me, what I look for when I'm working with people is people who are mission driven, right? That's what it comes down to. So people with their company, they're looking to make a difference. It's not just about the dollars. It's not just about the thing that they're providing, the product or the service. It's that becomes a conduit for the good that they want to do in the world, right? Whatever that is, help provide for families or just become a beacon in their community, et cetera, et cetera. And so to me, the best, most effective leaders are the ones that are clear-eyed about their mission. And oftentimes within the trade space, we see some haze. We see people getting hyper-focused on the tactical things, the day-to-day things, right? Like the order lists or whatever else. And they don't have that focus on what it is. Hey, why'd we show up here in the first place? Right. So for me, that's one of the first places that I work when I partner with people, or one of the first things I look for when I'm working with someone is how mission driven are they and how clear is that mission, for those people, for the company, and the whole team, the whole organization. So, yeah.
Do me a favor, define mission, right? Because again, a lot of people confuse vision and mission, and I think sometimes we even confuse it here, and we like to think that we're mission driven, but and for anyone listening, we want to give them something actionable, right? So so when you talk about mission, like what is it?
Okay, so this is, in full disclaimer, this is how I practice, right? So I think too many people get hyper focused on mission, vision, what's the difference, yada yada yada. And the reality is, I like to define if you have a mission or a vision, great, you're ahead of the curve, right? So I also do some adjuncting at Siena College in their business department, and we have to, when I teach, pull out and parse out the difference between vision and mission. I personally don't think it's necessary. Identify a cause. And to me, that's the umbrella term. What is your cause? Why are you here? What are you showing up for? And I define a mission or vision as a unifying cause that inspires and moves people to action. So that's how I define it. So the three most important things are it unifies, right? It inspires, and it moves people to action.
I like that.
That becomes the ground floor.
So when, in your opinion, somebody who's maybe working in the trades or jumping into their own business, is it ever too early to define that or have your mission and vision? When would you recommend establishing that?
Whenever you can. It's never too early. It's never too late. It becomes a beacon. And so for me, what I like to, after you kind of iron that out and define that, the next step is to memorize it and have the whole company understand that this is why we're showing up. Right? Like, how can we measure these things? And then we talk about like a KPI conversation, key performance indicators. What are we measuring? What gets measured improves, right? So then we have to start having a conversation around the mission. How can we measure whether or not we're doing the mission well? And revenue is just an indicator that we're doing that well, right? So if we focus on money, then we're focused on money. Then our actions are aligned with that. And oftentimes when people are acting out of motivation for money, we can sense that stuff a mile away, right? So after you identify and define that vision or mission, you only need one. It's short, it's actionable, it's easy for people to memorize. You get your team to memorize it, and then you look at that statement, you go, how can I measure that we're doing this? How can I identify wins and put wins on the board according to this statement?
All right. So unifies. Give it to me one more time. Unifies, inspires, and moves people to action. Okay. I'm like processing that.
And that's what good leaders do.
Yeah.
Right. We're not going to win them all, but overall, good leaders are looking to bring people together, find common ground, get people to understand that we're all on the same team. Right. And then from there, we're trying to get people to be inspired. This cause is bigger than us. This thing that we're working for is bigger than us, right? It's worth sacrificing for. So that's the inspire. And then moves people to action is, listen, all the best plans in the world are great. If there's no execution, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Right? So we got to execute. We got to run the play. We got to give it a shot. And if we fail and mess up, that's okay. Right? But we got to be in the arena. We got to give it a shot.
What do you think some of the bigger mistakes are people are making when identifying what their mission is or defining it?
The biggest, it's about most people are writing something that is not inspiring or attractive, and it's something about being the best at or the most amount of sales or something that's just very corporate.
Doing $50 million in sales, something along those lines.
Yeah, it's just too corporate, too vanilla. It's not inspiring. It doesn't match the language of the company. And that's a problem.
Well, we've had a couple guests come on that talked about meeting employees halfway. Was it Boom Nation came on?
Yeah.
And that was one of their recruiting struggles. So I would imagine that not only moving, current employees, but it's a way to attract people to a company who share that vision.
Yeah. I mean, these things become ways that we hire and fire for people, right? Like it becomes that it's the first step to building culture. So culture is values in action, right? That's a great one. If you guys ever want to write that one down, or people listening want to write that down, it's awesome. Culture is values in action. So once you identify a vision or a mission statement. The next thing is to actually identify values, right?
Yeah.
These are we statements. We believe, we create, we do, we build, we challenge. Most of the time, they don't always have to be we statements, but that's what I encourage companies that I work with to create we statements.
Yeah.
Right. And then you baptize people in this and you reward based off of these. Hey, so-and-so did this value, right? And you shout them out and you support, and you showcase this effort in front of the whole company. That becomes culture. Values in action is culture, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pat myself on the back, guys, because I literally just did that on Monday in our company meeting.
Nice.
Go me.
Nice, man.
No, I love it though. I've never heard culture defined that way. And I think that's like a really succinct way to put it and be able to understand and make it digestible, right? And usable. So that's really great. So here's the question I had for you. So I literally, a couple of days ago, a buddy of mine texted me Google's original mission. Hold on, I'm going to read it for you. It was pretty good. And I'm bringing this up for a reason, though, based on our conversation. Bear with me for 1 second, everyone.
Sure.
It'll be worth it. I promise. All right. So here's Google's original mission. If I can find it.
I'm weighted on bated breath.
Damn it. I know, right? I swear I have it.
He's got to make the letters bigger so he can read them.
Stop it, you son of a bitch.
I'm getting there too, man.
Oh, that's right. It was
are.
a group chat. Here we go. Got it. Okay. So Google's original mission was, I say was because I don't know that still is, but Google's mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and usable.
Right.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? Like, sounded good, was succinct, 12 words. So that brings me to my question, right? Is when you're defining mission with people, is there a length? Like, is it a paragraph? Is it, I've read probably every business book there is to read out there, from E-Myth to Traction to, Lencioni and all the books, right? So, and they all kind of have different viewpoints on this. So I'm just wondering, when you are helping someone define mission, like what kind of parameters do you put around the definition other than what you defined already?
Yeah. I love writing it down on a whiteboard.
Yeah.
And then just going through and crossing off words that don't need to be there. And then creating something succinct, but giving that person an opportunity to actually define each word. Mm-hmm. And then go, okay, this is what your launch meeting is going to look like, right? Your visionary meetings are going to look like. Like you're going to launch it. You're going to launch this mission or vision with writing this thing down and then defining every single word that's in there so people understand very clearly what the intention is, right? So.
I'm just thinking about our mission. I don't know if we do that or not.
Most people don't, man.
Is it ever, do you recommend that companies go back and revisit that mission?
Absolutely.
Over what period of time would you say is ideal?
Well, as long as it's relevant. Does it unite people? Does it inspire people? Does it move people to action? The reality is if you, as the leader, are wondering if that's the case for your own company, I think you just answer your own question.
I don't know if I answered my own question. I'm still trying to get out of the last podcast.
You can always listen to it back and.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about defining it succinctly. So it's, I guess we didn't really put parameters on it, but it's like, so long as it does what you want it to do, right, is what you're saying. Whether that's a paragraph or 2 sentences or 12 words or.
Yeah. And this really isn't rocket science, right? So like it does not need to be long. And if there are short words that can fill the gap as opposed to something longer, go with that instead, right? Because we want this to be something that people memorize. And we want people to throw it around in the warehouse, on the job site. You want to hear people talking about it. If you don't hear people talking about it, it's you as the leader need to do a better job leading with it. Because
if you don't hear people talking about it, that's interesting.
That is an indicator right there.
If people aren't talking
so I got to revisit ours.
Yeah. We won't put you on the spot. Tell us what yours is.
No, that's okay. When it's redefined, I will.
When it's redefined after you fix it, fix your shit, man. Come on. I like that. So one more time for the kids at home, and really, I mean me. So it needs to unify.
Yep.
It needs to inspire, and it needs to move people to action. Yep. And when you're defining it, you need to make sure that you obviously understand every word in it, but it needs to, be what you do. Like, I'm missing what that last part that you're explaining. Give that to me again.
So culture is values in action.
Yep.
Right. So you want to literally reward people for doing the mission.
Okay.
For acting out the values.
Yeah.
Right. And so, what I like to tell leaders that I work with is, depending on where they're at, but most small companies, most companies that are really trying to grow and scale, you need to be having what I like to call visionary meetings once a week. And these visionary meetings are you constantly reinforcing what the beacon is, what the cause is, your mission, vision, and then what that's built off of, which is your culture. Identifying these values, talking about the values, rewarding people, that kind of stuff. And then within your strategy meetings with your senior leadership team that you're having once a week, you're having the team report on not just their KPIs or whatever else, whatever metrics they need to report on, but also they need to report on their values, right? As a company, like the CFO is talking about the accountant that, upheld, whatever, pick a value, upheld a certain value, right? You have business development, you have people that are on site, project managers, and they're talking about the value, whatever value it is that their responsibility to report on, and then they're telling a very specific story with a person's name on their team that upheld this value. That becomes culture, because values in action becomes culture.
Okay,
I like that.
Culture will exist whether you want it to or not.
Right.
But as a leader, you might as well make it what you want to make it. Right. And that takes a lot of intentional effort.
So in a way you can reach, because on day-to-day interactions, I know in our business, I don't necessarily interact with all of our technicians that are on site. So to reach those people, how do you recommend that you do that? Just based on the reward program and having some of your other, middle management relay some of those stories to you, and then extend whatever reward you decide to as a company?
Yeah. I mean, so a couple of things. Number one, there's a great book called Drive. It's all about theory of motivation, right? And we know that actually rewarding people with things or hitting them like with the carrot or the stick, right? Rewards or punishment actually decreases motivation over time, right? Even rewards. Right. And so what we want to do is find a way to reward them through intrinsic motivation. So literally just giving people a shout out, showcasing them in front of the entire company. Like what I like to say,
like recognition, really focusing on that.
You want to put a spotlight on this person for what they've done and who they are. So it becomes a virtues and character conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the Drive book sounds familiar too. And I know that a while back I worked with a company that did a lot with recognition-based carrots, so to speak, right? Yep. And that the power of recognition was really larger than giving them that steward's gift certificate or whatever it was going to be.
Most people will leave a job and go work somewhere else for less pay because they believe they're going to be a part of something and they'll be valued.
Yeah.
Most people will leave.
So we did, and it's funny that we're talking about this, but about 3 months ago, we put up a wall of fame as soon as you walk into our office. So, every month we pick 2 employees of the month.
Nice.
Put their picture up on the wall. So that way when people come in, they see that wall of fame, and our turnover has drastically reduced. It's
really
incredible. Yeah. And I didn't really see that as being the answer to it, but between that and we do a newsletter every month. We highlight those employees and put the picture in there. And but it's amazing just that, hey, look at this guy. He's doing the right things.
Yeah.
It's really helped.
People want to feel like they're part of a tribe, man. That's it.
Yeah.
That's really it.
I know. I can tell you on that theme too, one thing that we've recently changed with our hiring process is we make sure to have whatever new hire is coming in for the interview. And again, we're already a long interview process, right? We've got a 15-minute phone call after the resume. Then we've got a first interview that's with Brad. Second interview is with me. Then they have to do a design test. Like if it's a graphic designer, they got to do a design test. And then they sit down 20 minutes, half an hour with the team and chat with them. And I have noted like that last piece, that 20 minutes with the team is huge because they are seeing who they're going to be working with. They're talking to them. They get to ask about the environment, all those things. And that's been a huge,
that's cool, man.
Huge addition. Yeah. That I feel has really helped us. Well, because like I said, last episode, we only hire unicorns now. So,
that's impressive.
We used to hire a lot of donkeys and mules and stuff. Now it's only unicorns, which is, it's nice. It's nice.
I think you can tell a lot about a company based off of how they hire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Well, and we used to be so cavalier about it too. Mm-hmm. Like 2021, the great experiment. And we basically just hired everybody. Like, well, yeah, you want to try to be a designer? Come on in. We'll see if you work out.
Give it a shot.
Yeah, and then nobody did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awful. Never doing that again.
Those are extraordinary circumstances.
They were. That's true. That's true. So, mission, values, value and what? Actions is what drives culture.
Yep. Culture is values and
values
action.
and action.
Yep. Yeah.
And what else should be? And I know this applies to any business, but you know, for our blue collar folks listening, you know, what sort of other things should they be looking from a? I mean, really, we're talking about structure, right? Like the structure of how to build a business. And I mean, I always talk about building a business like it's kind of like building a house, right? Like you got to get a solid foundation, and you got a frame. You got to, you know, if you're going to have a second story, third story, fourth story, you got to make sure, you know, you got good stuff underneath you. You know, what other types of things should people be looking for, or be trying to put into action from a structure standpoint?
Well, I actually think that you want to create a really strong, you know, I'm biased, of course, leadership culture. Yeah. Right. So centralized vision, decentralized decision making. Like the goal should be that you're not doing what you're doing, whatever you're doing right now. From a small business perspective, your chances are you're very tactical, very operational, right? You don't want to be doing that in a year. And then whatever you graduate to in a year, you don't want to be doing that in a year. From a small business perspective, you want to constantly growing, constantly transcending, getting more and more and more and more strategic. And so this idea of you're trying to develop more leaders, not followers. There's a distinct difference between the two, right? Empowering people is so challenging because most of the time what happens, we're rushed as leaders in a tactical or an operational space to make sure that we're hitting revenue, getting jobs on the board, whatever else it is, that we end up jumping in and saving, catching balls before they drop often, right? What happens when we do that?
Do you, Derek?
What happens? Yeah. Well, what happens is it's enabling.
Yeah.
It actually enables people, right? We think we have like either savior complex or hero, or we're not even thinking that far down the line, and we're just like, oh, well, this person's busy or they're not capable or whatever else. Yeah. I'll just grab this before I see it kind of getting ready to hit the ground. Let me grab this. Let me dive in. Let me jump in. Right. And that's not going to help people develop. You actually have to let the ball drop. Right. So
I think the obvious question, right? Anyone listening to this is going like, well, yeah, but if they drop a ball, I might lose a client, might lose money. Like how do you balance the letting them mess it up? Yeah. Right. Without it having a large effect or detrimental effect.
And I think that's a great question, right? So you would have to look at how much responsibility and authority you give the person relative to their capacity and competency, right? So, at some point in time, you might have to have a conversation and tailor someone back or dial someone back a little bit. If you're like, man, this is too much. And then take ownership. This is on me, right? Or you can kind of like ask some questions like, hey man, have you thought about this? Do you see this coming? Like in order to get them to think proactively. Because oftentimes the response is to jump in and tell and to say, hey, you missed this, instead of to ask questions to force them to think a little bit deeper about it, instead of answering the question for them. And they don't think, they're not critically thinking at all. You've kind of just enabled them to depend on, their boss, their manager, their leader in order to solve whatever problem it is, right?
Okay. So empower, delegate, but do that smartly. So it's almost like aim small, miss small, right? So you're just trying to make sure that whatever you're empowering or assigning is, and giving them the opportunity to drop the ball, because everyone's going to make mistakes.
Yeah, you have the progression of show someone, help someone, watch someone, empower someone.
Gotcha.
Right. So at first, people have no idea what they're doing. That's okay, right? You want to show them exactly what they need to know. Right? Here's the standard. Here's what we want. Here's what we're looking for. Good leaders set clear expectations right from the beginning. We often miss the boat on that, right? Like we'll miss it. We'll have to go back. Like, oh, I didn't do this well, or this expectation was missed, or whatever else. And then we have to kind of go backwards. But from the beginning, we want to iron that out as best that we possibly can. What is the clear expectation? So I'm going to show you, or I'm going to put you with a master electrician, carpenter, whatever else. They're going to show you exactly what I expect from people that work with me in this company. Now, I don't expect you to get it. You've seen it once. You're going to have to practice, man. So we move you from show to then help, partner, side by side, working on whatever it is that we're working on, right? In that phase, we're hoping that person has some sort of self-awareness to go, oh, I now know because you showed me. I now know that I'm not good, that I don't have the skills, or I know what skills I need, and I have self-awareness now, right? So we're going from lack of self-awareness, that's why I'm showing you, to gaining self-awareness. So now we can partner together. Now we help, right? I help you, you help me, we're partnered together in this. After that phase, then you transition into watch, which is characterized by whoever the leader, the manager, project manager, the team lead, whatever, they're asking questions as that person is working. Hey, did you think about this? Hey, what's your next move? How would you like to do that better next time? And you don't answer the question. Because if you answer the question, then they don't have time to think about it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right.
Well, that is one of the biggest problems that we see in leadership is they're not asking questions. Most of the time, leaders will jump from showing and helping right to empower. So what happens is you empower someone before you've gone through that kind of that watching phase. We get lazy, or a lot of times people don't even have the awareness is that that's an important piece of the puzzle, is to sit there and watch and ask questions and give people space to kind of like struggle and wrestle with it and stay in that space for quite a while, right? And that's why we need trainers. Like that's why we need leaders. We need team leads. We need support teams or support staff or whatever else. Like we need those guys. Those are really important.
Yeah.
And we need them teaching and developing the next group. But oftentimes teaching is not always, let me lecture to you, right? It is you struggle and wrestle, and I'll kind of facilitate or guide you with a couple of questions here and there.
So we're kind of going through this right now on the kitchen exhausted cleaning side. You know, we have a couple of really young, motivated individuals, very green, right? We set the expectations. They need the training and development. We're probably a week and a half into it. So my partner in the business has been very, closely working with them, going through the steps. We've had some mistakes. I mean, where do you, as a leader, how do you make that decision after you've already gone through that process and somebody's still not getting it? What does it look like once you get to that point?
So they're struggling
to perform some of the field tasks. Don't have some of the basic knowledge. We've put them through training. We've taught them, showed them. They have a lot of potential. With back to the book Traction, but gets it, wants it, capacity to do it. They get it or they want it. They have the capacity to do it, but they don't necessarily get it yet. How many times do you allow somebody to fail before they get frustrated and you you'd look to move them elsewhere.
Yeah. So what are they showcasing right now? Are they frustrated? This person?
No, they're not frustrated. They're taking the constructive criticism in the coaching. They haven't stuck their middle finger up or anything like that. But and I keep telling you got to be patient. You gotta let them come around. But where does that line get drawn? When you can say, oh, maybe they're not going to get it.
Yeah, I think you have to have an expectation around how long it takes to acquire skill, right? Whatever the skill is. And for some people, it's going to take longer. Some people, it's going to take less time. There's a bell curve for everything, right? Mm-hmm. And I think, as a teacher, as a coach, a mentor, you have to, as a leader, you have to have an incredible amount of patience, because the people that are existing at that high level are there largely because they're extremely motivated, very talented, great capacity. Most people are not going to be that person, right? Yeah. It's like, I have this awesome mechanic that I drive 45 minutes to go to because I know he's going to take great care of me. And I asked him once, I'm like, hey, Bill, are you ever going to open up another shop? What's the deal? He's like, dude, I can't replicate me. More places, more people, more problems. Yeah. Right? And you have to have an expectation is sometimes these people at the ground level are just they're not going to be, your leads, your project managers. They're not going to be like you as an owner or whatever else. So are you willing to accept that? Do they still have utility? Those are some of the questions I think you have to wrestle with.
Can we talk about sheep farming?
I knew that was going to come back up.
Listen, it's so funny because as soon as you said it, I had to get right away from it because Mac, our producer, anytime someone even says the word farm to me, I'm like, yeah, let's talk about that.
Oh man.
And I just love farming, but and I'm a super geek about it too. So and I love sheep. So we've had sheep for a couple years now. And when we're growing our herd. But you said that, and I was like, oh, my God, I got to talk to this guy about sheep farming. I'm like, but I know he's got a lot of other stuff to talk about, too. But
it's all good.
I know that we got.
Listen, I don't know that. I stacked hay, man.
You just stacked hay? That was it?
Yeah, I stacked hay.
Is that what you owe your work ethic to?
I had a pretty, my parents are boomers, right? Okay. And so it was you do or die. Right? There was not a lot of, it was not a lot of, what's the right term? I don't want to throw my parents on the bus.
Nurturing.
Sympathy.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was not a high level of emotional intelligence in our family growing up, right?
Same.
And it was good though. I knew my parents loved me, but it was hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
High expectations. My dad, he grew up on a farm. So
I think everyone should grow up on a farm. That's just me.
Yeah.
So I know we're running out of time, but if you're going to give one piece of advice to somebody listening, what would it be?
Read philosophy.
Read philosophy. Any specific philosophy?
I personally enjoy this. Yeah, I enjoy the Stoics quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I'm actually reading through Epictetus's Enchiridion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But philosophy, dude, you just learn how to think.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's so important for leaders in particularly. We get lost in this world that things need to be binary. It's on or off. It's left or right. It's right or wrong. It's Democrat or Republican. There's so many different shades. Mm-hmm. Good leaders learn to deal with complexity and they help create clarity. And I think, you have Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, which is just fascinating, listening to this guy who's pretty close to probably the most powerful man in the world at the time, listening to his inner thoughts, right? Talking, he's coaching himself. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of what that is. He's thinking so much about these things because chances are they're not second nature, and he's trying to push himself in that direction. So I think that's really great. But philosophy in general, it's going to help people learn how to think more critically and more nuanced and lean into the complexities and rhythms of life, which I think are really important, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So if people want to find out more about you, get a hold of you, how do they reach you? How do they find you?
Yeah. So send me an email, grow@theleaders.group. So that's grow@theleaders.group. Or you could send me a message on Instagram, which I'm not on very often. But that's all right.
That's how we connected.
Yeah, Dean Leber, DeanLeb as in Bravo ER. Last name's Rebel backwards, by the way. Own
Nice.
that. I love that. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I appreciate you coming.
Yeah, man.
Talk to us. Give us some insight. It's great stuff. I'm going to listen to it again,
Absolutely.
which I don't often do. But there was some good stuff in there. And
Cool, man.
I'm going to try to remember it, and I'm not going to remember it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we got it this time.
Yeah.
We landed it this
Oh
time.
my God, I know. Yeah, for those
Listening don't have any idea what I meant when I'm saying that, but
yes,
we kind of biffed it last time.
well, not we.
Dean hates us.
No.
I messed up the calendar. Everyone, Dean showed up, and I was not here.
It's
and
all
it was
good.
completely my fault. So we didn't biff it. Mike biffed it. So thanks for
you
your
take
patience.
ownership for
Hey,
it.
you gotta
Just
own that
embrace
shit.
embrace our messy humanity.
That's it. That's it. Well, thanks for coming back
Yeah, man.
and doing the show with us, and appreciate
Absolutely.
you coming on. D-Rock, always good to see you.
Yeah, likewise.
I don't know if we're scheduled for next week, but no, we're not scheduled for next week.
Not yet.
But number 50 is coming up shortly. We've got to figure that out.
50.
Yeah. And that's not how old I'm going to be, guys. That's the number of episodes that we've done. Although I am only a few years away from 50. But anyway, check out the website.
But you look good, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm holding up. That's what.
You're wearing a blazer,
Chris-
a white collared shirt right now.
We interviewed Chris Manzello last week, and he was like, "How old are you?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm 40. I'll be 47 in a month." He's like, "Wow." He's like, "You're holding up pretty good, bud."
What do you
thanks for that, Chris.
what do you owe that to?
What do I owe that to? Diet and exercise.
Nice, man.
And actually, no, you know what? I'm convinced of, because I know I do look younger than my 46, almost 47 years. But you know what I really think it is? I think it's I am dedicated to lifelong learning. I spend almost every moment of every day learning new skills.
That's awesome.
I think the acquisition of skills is a moral imperative.
Have you read the book, The Coddling of the American Mind?
No, it's on my list. It's funny you say that. It legitimately is on my list right now.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. I ordered it. It's sitting on my bookshelf, but I have not read it.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Read it. Get
I'm
back
going
to me. Let
I
me
will.
know what you think.
I will. I'll give you a full report.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks again for joining us.
absolutely,
Derek,
guys.
we'll see you later. Thanks for listening, everybody. And make sure to check out MLB Construction and Michael's group. Those guys have sponsored some of our scholarships, so we've been able to donate some money to HVCC, the Blue Collar College, and BOCES. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to those guys. And thanks for listening, everybody. Until next time.